Hey, what's going on, you all? I'm Brandon. I'm a guy who flies. If you are a frequent flyer on the channel, thanks for coming back. I love the support that you all give me and show me on each of my videos. For those passed-by passengers, hey to you as well. When are you just going to come on and hit that subscribe button and join the team? And for those of you who might be new here, again, I'm Brandon. I'm a guy who flies for a U.S. domestic carrier. However, I'm out on paid leave for 7 months due to the reduction in flying because of the pandemic. And I'm finding all kinds of ways to keep myself occupied while I'm at home. Yeah. I'm excited to announce a new segment, Flight Attendant Reacts, on my channel. I'm always looking for new things to do, to bring to you all, and I'm trying to stay in the realm of aviation. I figured I would start with the somewhat anticipated The Flight Attendant miniseries that has premiered on HBOmax. Admittedly, I did not read the book. You know, I've talked to enough people that read the book to know the gist, so I won't be the type of person that give you a real comparative study of the two. However, I can give you a real in-depth analysis, recap, reaction kind of thing from my perspective just by watching the miniseries. Fly, fly. Okay. The show opens with, I'm assuming who's going to be the main star of the show, Miss Cassie, who we, eventually learn to be Kaylee, Cuoco, also known as Penny. I said, is that Penny? From Big Bang Theory? Yep, it's Penny. Mama got stamps, okay? She has stamps in the passport. She's flying to Seoul. She's flying to Buenos Aires. She's flying to Panama. She's flying to Germany. She is all over the place. So the show opens giving us just flashes and glimpses of her life. Mama is doing the thing. If Young, Wild, and Free was a person, it is her, okay? And everything that comes with it. Partying, being a socialite, and drinking. Okay, we're gonna come back to that. Mama wakes up on the subway, just asleep in a subway car. She happens to see a watch. Flight attendants today is one thing we know how to do. We just tell time. All kinds of time. Mama sees that time. She has to jet out. She has a trip to work. So she goes home, she's rushing. Been there, done that. But Mama makes it to the airport. So we see her pumping through the airport, and I'm like, I know you're not an international flight attendant and all you got is a turn bag and a little tote. Mama, what is that 22-inch rollerboard at? Like, make it make sense, because this is not this isn't a international term. You got a layover. You will be doing things. Like, make it make sense. I caught that. And also, where your wings at, honey? You're not compliant. She was not compliant, okay? I definitely caught that. But she makes it to work, just in time before boarding starts. She's working in what looks like business and or first class. I'm just going to go ahead and say it's first class. We know that she's on a wide-body jet, 2 aisles, She's in the galley, doing her thing with the girls, as they like to say. So she's working this flight. Anyway, she kind of has this moment with a child where she comforts the child who's kind of like shaken up by the turbulence and does what flight attendants does. If you work this job enough, you know exactly what to say to calm down somebody, especially when you're going through turbulence or if it's their first time flying. That is a gift. I keep looking down, y'all, because I have my notes right here. But anyway, she has this awkward encounter with a passenger, and they kind of have a moment. Been there, done that. It's a little awkward, like, I see you, you see me, but do you see me seeing you the way I see you seeing me kind of thing, situation. Yeah, that was that. But what took the cake is Mama ended up in the lab. Mile High Club, anybody? Haven't been there, but we're having sex in the lavatory. Okay, I mean, if that's what we want to do, that's what we do. So Mom gets herself together, and, we see more interaction with her and the crew, doing what we call galley gab, just in the galley, just talking away. Because once you get done with, flight duties and service and that, you just kind of on there. Like, especially if it's not your time to take a break, you're just on there. And flight crews, if you tend to work with the same people, or if you choose to work with the same people, you become, like, sort of embedded in each other's lives. So you kind of know a little bit of this and a little bit of that about people, and you poke fun at other people. It was kind of funny when she made the joke to the girl about who was up front trying to be smart, and she was like, aren't you supposed to be working Economy Plus? And I was like, get to the back, honey. Anyway, there's a lot of mentions of her and her drinking, which I don't know if the show is going to really overly highlight the alcoholism that exists. However, I mean, if we were just keeping it real, that is a thing. That is a thing. People in aviation can be alcoholic. They can suffer from alcoholism, and it looks like she is no different than anyone else in that regard. But anyway, they make it to Bangkok. You know, they on their little layover. Mama got dressed because she and homeboy have made plans unbeknownst to everyone else. And she went downstairs and she saw the crew and she was like, this way, okay? There's different type of flight attendants. Some flight attendants like to chill with the crew when they on their layovers. Others like to not, because I just worked this however long flight or this many flight days with you and I want to not hang with you. So, you know, that's her choice. But her and 3C, who we come to find out his name is Alex, her and 3C go out and they have, listen, the best of times and the worst of times. But we keep getting glimpses of it, and we don't necessarily know the timeline yet of what happened, and we don't know where everything happened, but they ended up back in a hotel doing what adults do, continuing what they started in the laboratory, and you know, that's their business. Shout out to Tabitha Brown. But the next morning, we already knew this scene because this was like the trailer for the show. The next morning, she wakes up, you know, the alarm goes off, she rolls over. I thought that they were her hotel room. They're not her hotel room, they're in his hotel room. She rolls over, she gets up, goes to open the blinds, you know, let a little sun in, wake up. She notices blood on her hand. We've seen all of this. She looks back, he's dead, in the bed. Dead to the bed. Shout out to Funky Dineva. Dead to the bed, throat slash, blood everywhere, okay? What we gonna do? What we gonna do? You know, it's like she's hyperventilating, she's panicking, she doesn't know what to do. She goes to call the front desk, I guess, you know, immediately the first thing to do is to alert somebody, but then when they answer, she's like, never mind. Hangs up the phone, calls her friend. She's trying to talk around the situation, make light of it, see what her friend has to say without, you know, incriminating herself and saying what she doesn't know that she's done, but what the situation is. The friend doesn't really help based on the vague information that she's presented, so she hangs up. She proceeds to clean up the mess. I'm talking about cleaning up all of the bottles that they've gone through, the glasses, things that might have her fingerprints on it. She ends up cutting her foot on glass that's broken on the floor, which ends up leaving her blood on the floor. I'm just like, ooh, girl.
Molly, you in danger, girl.
You needed to pull a Handmaid's Tale and just be like, Miss Housekeeping, how much do I have to pay to have this body removed and all of this evidence cleaned up? Psh, I didn't say that. Anyway, she takes a shower. Housekeeping almost comes into the room, and she almost catches the man dead on the bed. But she stops that. That's when we realize it's not her hotel room. So she leaves there. She takes some of the trash and throws it away in the hotel. She goes back to her hotel. And she's just chilling. Her friend's knocking on, or maybe she fell asleep. Her friend, co-worker, fellow crew member, shout out to the ones that know you be out here reckless and they check on you. She checks on, she's like, you ready to go? Mama ain't dressed. She's still dressed from last night. She's like, look, I'm not missing a van for you. She leaves her. Mama goes to get dressed. She go outside. Van gone. Been there, done that. I've missed the van twice. Have I missed work? No. But I have missed the van before, so I know. Okay, let me figure out another way. She rode with another crew. This is where she starts the world is just consuming her, because every sound, every time she blinks, every time she closes her eyes, every time she thinks, it's a flashback to what has happened or the notion of her getting caught. In this transition, she makes it to the hotel. That's when we realize it's only a crew of 4 people. And I'm just we see pilots and then we see 4 flight attendants, and I'm like, y'all working on a wide body, right? So where's everybody else at? Because 4 people, I mean, if this is a U.S. airline, y'all can only serve up to 200 passengers. So what wide body y'all flying that has less than 200 passengers on it? But you know, we're just gonna count that as an oversight. But I saw that. I caught that. You know, I'm here. But anyway, she's working the flight. She's paranoid. She's out here serving people who ask for soda. She's serving them vodka sodas or vodka straight, you know, Federal Air Marshal. She's out here just breaking all kinds of far. Mama is on edge. Her crew member is trying to be like, girl, get it together. She's in the laboratory for all this time. She's like, get it together. So I think they worked the flight from Bangkok to Seoul. Then they had a Seoul layover. This is when I'm like, yeah, this is only a crew of 4. Where's everybody else at? You know. Then there's this, you know, her and this first officer who keep making like eye contact and he keeps winking. And I'm like, okay, they done hooked up before, because that's the only reason why you looking at me like that, especially in front of everybody else. Like, listen,
if we did it, we know we did it. Don't nobody else need to know we did it.
She's on this layover. She might as well be on an acid trip right now because mama is freaking out. She's drinking. I mean, she done took so many nips. The minis from the bar cart on the plane. Mama is going through vodka like it is nobody's business. And I'm just like, oh my God. Every time she pops one, I'm like, this is not the answer. While we're watching that, also in the parallel world, somebody calls the hotel looking for Alex 3C. They send up housekeeping finds him dead. Then, you know, the whole train of, you know, the Bangkok police, or it's an American, they probably had to call the American embassy, or they had to call the State Department had to call the feds. So there's this whole list of people. Feds have to call his mother to say that he's dead. Then, so now we know that the authorities know. Okay, so they have the Seoul layover. She goes to get ice. She runs into the pilot after he, I guess, somebody came from working out. And she needs a distraction, so she's like, yes, let's just go ahead and hook up. I mean, he mentioned it. He's like, look, the thing that we did that time, I wondered if we, you know, when that's going to happen again. She was like, look, I'm drunk. He's like, aren't you always? Like, ooh, the shade. But the real. She was like, you know what? Forget it. I need a distraction. So she offers to go. She said something super. It's like the connection between them just isn't there. You can tell it was like a drunken night, like when that happened, because there's no connection. But anyway, she says something awkward. They get to his room. He's like, hey, can I go clean up? She stands in the hallway. She has another moment with the picture. Praying mantis that moves, looks at her, drops the whole thing of ice, freaks out with him. She's like, well, I'm just gonna go. That's that. Next morning. Do we see the next morning? Either way, they end up back on the flight the next day. So, you know, we good. There's no more running late, you know, whatever. I don't know. She just went to the room, drank herself to sleep. The next day, she's working the flight. They work, I'm assuming, what is Seoul to New York. And what happened on that flight? I don't know. I'm not remembering that flight. Must not have been nothing memorable. But either way, when they landed, flight attendants love to gossip. Upon arrival, one flight attendant has the news article up about the person who got found dead. Bangkok, it's American. They're like, oh my God. Then it's like the person is connected to the airline. They realize it's a person from their flight. They get a call, and I'm thinking, oh, this might be a drug alcohol test, because Lord knows her system, it's in her veins. No, it's the authorities that want to see them once they deplane, once they're off duty. They have to go meet at gate B31. Mama is shaken up because she's like, I'm caught. She tries to run away. She tries to run away. Girl, it's the feds. We know who you are. Like, if you work in aviation, you are the last person who can run away, because all of your activity is just monitored. You scan here, you're checking here. Like, from the time you get to work to the time you leave work, every single step is documented. It's like, oh, she got to work at this time. She got on the plane at this time. She landed at this time. She got to the hotel at this time. Like, where are you going? Where are you going? But that's besides the point. So then they go in there and they start interviewing what is the first class crew, because this is the first class passenger. So they interview the 4 people. I thought homegirl worked in economy plus, so why is she clumped in with the first class crew? And did it really take 4 people to work first class? I mean, was it premium, then business? I'm confused on why it's just 4 of them. Where's the rest of the crew? I'm gonna let that go. That just might be me being a flight attendant. I'm looking too hard, but I'm just like, okay, so we're gonna review these 4 people. So she's sitting there, she's having more flashbacks. And the feds start calling them in one by one to talk to them. I thought that they was just gonna go in there and, you know, keep it copacetic. Some of them went in there and just saying like a bird. I mean, calling homegirl out and everything. And I'm like, what happened to crew takes care of crew? Like, does that go out the window when the authorities are involved? Because they was not looking. Now, I will say her homegirl, the crew member that worked most closely with her, she kept it copacetic. Yep, Cassie served him. You know, she might have had more interactions with him than I did. You know, she was real, like, on the level of that. Like, we're not saying no more no less. I'm telling you what I know. The other two, they went there, yeah, she was with him and they were flirting and, you know, and she talked to him a lot. So they done heard all of this by the time they call her in there. Oh, I also forgot to mention that every time she's kind of in multiple points throughout the first episode, she kind of has these moments where she's like taken back into the room and she's talking to dead Alex, who is like, first he's laid in the bed just like she found him the next morning, covered in blood, slit throat. The next time he still has a slit in the throat, but there's no blood. The final time when she sees him when she's being interrogated, it's sort of like this purgatory that she keeps getting taken to. She's talking to him and he's sort of like in the back of her mind, but it's like, it's not the Alex that he's met, it's like the Alex that knows more. She's like, look, I can't remember anything. It's like the story is sort of starting to like reveal, all of those flashbacks are starting to become more and more vivid for her through these trips to what I'm just going to call purgatory for her. But anyway, they interview her. Mama is just like trying to keep it together, but not doing a good job at all. And one of the agents is just like drilling her any chance he gets, and I mean, she's just like walking right into their hands. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But needless to say, that's where we left off with her getting interrogated. I'm not gonna say interrogated. She's currently in the room talking to the authorities, and we're just waiting for episode 2 to know where this is going to go. But I'm like, girl, you caught. I was sitting here the whole time I was watching the episode trying to think about what I would actually do. Let's have a conversation about it. If you watched the show on HBOmax, drop down in the comments. Let's have a conversation about how would you have handled that. I don't know how I would have handled that. And then if I was her and I had done all that she would have done, I felt like I would have just gotten in that room and I would have just like laid it all out. Look, this is what happened. Because Mama lost her ID. She realized she probably lost her ID somewhere in that room. Like, it's just a lot of evidence that will just come back to, I mean, between her blood on the floor, the lost ID, probably all of the surveillance, because they was everywhere. They was at the pool, they was at the restaurant, they was at the bar, they was everywhere. So I'm sure there's surveillance of them two together all over the city. That was episode 1 of The Flight Attendant. Have you seen it? Do you plan to watch? Drop that in the comments. Let me know what is your reaction. And I will see you all once episode 2 drops, because we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. Again, I'm Brandon. I'm Guy Who Flies. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can be ready when episode 2 drops. And I'll see you all next time.